On the invisible forces that guide pretty much everything we do. We're talking about the hidden architecture of our society, a concept called social control.
I mean, really think about it. There's no law against talking normally, and no one's going to tackle you. And yet, we automatically lower our voices. That quiet, almost instinctual decision, that's a perfect little snapshot of social control in action. These are the unwritten rules that keep our world from just, falling into chaos.
So, why do we all play along? Well, it turns out that our tendency to conform isn't some sign of weakness. It's actually the very glue that holds our social lives together.
Here's the simple truth. Conforming is kind of our default setting. Right from the get-go, institutions like our family, our schools, and the media are constantly teaching us the right way to behave. Without this general agreement to follow the rules, society as we know it just couldn't work.
Okay, so how does society get us to conform? Well, it uses a surprisingly simple toolkit of rewards and punishments. You can think of them as good old-fashioned carrots and sticks.
On one side, you've got your positive sanctions. Those are the carrots. These are all the rewards you get for good behavior. A smile from a stranger when you hold the door, a great job from your boss, or maybe a gift from a friend. And on the other side, you've got the negative sanctions, the sticks. These can be something as small as a disapproving frown, or as serious as a fine or even a prison sentence. Both are there to steer our behavior and keep things predictable.
We can break these rules down even more. You've got formal controls. These are the official written down rules like laws and company policies, and they're enforced by institutions like the police. But way more common are the informal controls. These are the unwritten rules of everyday life, and they're enforced through things like ridicule, sarcasm, or just getting the cold shoulder from your friend.
But it's not just about avoiding punishment from the outside. Some of the most powerful reasons we conform actually come from inside us and from our relationships with other people.
This quote right here just nails it. We're social creatures, right? That simple desire to be accepted by our group, by our peers, is an incredibly strong motivator. The fear of being kicked out, of being ostracized, can honestly be a much stronger deterrent than any formal law.
So a lot of the time, conforming is actually a totally rational choice. We get that to achieve our goals in life, we need to cooperate with others. If we act in ways people don't like, they're probably not going to help us later. At the end of the day, following the rules is often just in our own best interest.
This all fits into a process that sociologists call social exchange. Think of it like an unspoken social contract. You offer something up, maybe it's approval, some help, or just a kind word, and that creates a kind of social obligation. In return, you can expect to get something back down the line. It's this constant give and take that builds stable relationships and a world we can count on.
All right, let's zoom out for a second. If all these little interactions are the apps we run every day, then what's the underlying operating system? Well, that's where ideology comes into play.
An ideology is basically a society's mental map. It's this whole collection of beliefs and ideas that gives everything meaning. It explains why things are the way they are, what's right and what's wrong, and what our purpose is. It provides the order and stability for our entire social world.
Now, according to Marxist theory, not all ideologies are created equal. The dominant ideology is the set of ideas that becomes the most widespread and accepted. And this perspective argues that these ideas aren't neutral. They usually reflect the interests of the most powerful groups in that society.
So how does an ideology like that spread? Well, the theorist Louis Althusser said it happens through what he called ideological state apparatuses, or ISAs. I know, it sounds super complicated, but the idea is actually pretty simple. These are the institutions that subtly pass on this worldview, shaping how we think without us even realizing it.
And here are some of the big ones. The education system teaches a specific version of history and values. The family passes down traditions. The media, of course, shapes our view of reality with the stories it chooses to tell, and religion provides a moral framework. All these things work together, often quietly, to reinforce that dominant ideology.
This leads to another crucial Marxist concept called false class consciousness. This is what happens when people in less powerful positions start to internalize that dominant ideology, and they come to believe that the system as it exists is fair and just. From this point of view, it masks the real nature of their situation and makes them less likely to challenge things.
That's my wife in the truck here in Suffolk County, New York. 14 million views as of this morning. The comments are exactly what you'd think they are. So I let her take the truck to grab groceries that day. She'd been driving it for 7 years without a scratch. She didn't see the Lamborghini in front of her. The thing's hood is 6 inches off the ground, and we've never even owned a sports car. She ran into it like it wasn't there.
order. The one